Okay, so first of all, let me preface this video by saying I do not condone the use of any substance, legal or illegal. This is something that I did in the past pretty irresponsibly, and this is some really crazy, powerful shit. I do not recommend anybody try it. So, yeah, now that I've got that out of the way, I can actually make this video without having to worry about getting fucking flagged. Alright. Anyway, about a year and a half ago, 16 years old, I ordered some LSD, 5 tabs, off of the darknet markets. If you guys don't know what it is, it's an internet site where you can pretty much buy any drug you want on the internet and have it delivered to your house, which is pretty fucking crazy. If I can give anyone some advice from my past, I'd say stay away from the deep web as a whole. So anyway, got them. And I actually had a friend living with me at the time, and he was at work whenever they came in, and I was so like, oh, I want to try it so bad, that I couldn't even just wait for him to show up, so I just took half of a tab. About an hour later, I was feeling like really tingly and like good. It was going good, and then I was thinking, well, I'm not getting any kind of visuals. I thought I could definitely handle another tab. Stupid. I'm such a retard. God, I should not have done that, but, oh my god, this story just gets crazier and crazier, guys. Like, by the end of the night, I had taken 3 tabs. And I'll get to that later, but, so yeah, I took another half a tab, and, about 30 minutes go by, and I cannot sit still. I am just under the covers, just almost moaning in euphoria. And keep in mind, my dad was awake, and he was just kind of confused. It was he didn't say anything to me, but I could tell that I was being weird. So because I was under the covers, just not trying to let anyone see me, just rolling around on the couch, just in euphoria. And I was seeing little patterns appear on the blanket and move around. It was really fucking weird. And so I got up and went to my room, because I felt like I felt like my dad was going to notice, and that I should just leave the room. So I left the room, went to my bedroom, and I looked at my wall, and there were blood stains all over my wall, and I was so confused. I was like, where did those come from? I thought they were real. At first I thought they were fake. I was laughing at it, because I was like, haha, this stuff's making me see blood stains, ha ha ha. Wait a second, that shit looks really real. And then I touched the wall, and I was like, this shit is real. It didn't go away. I thought if I touched it, it would go away if it was fake. But nope. And so I was kind of weirded out. I was like, what the hell? Who died in here? And so, yeah, that kind of weirded me out a little bit. And then I looked at my carpet, and there were these shadows moving around, and this is about 2.5 hours into the trip. There were shadows moving around all over my carpet, and I was just like, what the fuck? And my dog came in the room, and his head, he has spot, a little stripe on his head, black stripe, and it was morphing and dancing around on his head and shit, and he was getting all these kaleidoscope patterns moving around on his head, and it was really interesting and weird. And so I was just laughing my ass off at my dog, and then I started loving on my dog and stuff, and I felt like he knew. I felt like my dog knew that I was tripping, because he was just so much more loving than he normally was. I don't know what it was, but my dog was just fucking just acting so strange. Okay, so then I went to reach to turn my light off, just because I was kind of getting anxious and shit, and I was like, okay, let's kind of try to sleep this off, I was actually gonna be able to fucking sleep. Dumbass idea. I turned the fucking light off, and it was such a struggle to get the light off too. I was like, oh my god, I can't reach it. I could not get the light off, and I finally flicked the switch. Sorry about my phone. And I was like, that was the worst idea I've ever had. I started seeing shit that wasn't there. Really creepy shit. And keep in mind, I had no idea what to expect going into this. So I didn't know that you could literally see like objects in your mind appear in your eyesight. Like, I didn't know that that was a thing. I thought that, objects would change or something and then you'd see patterns, but I had no idea stuff that was not there at all could just appear. And it wasn't like it was real. It was like I was just seeing like these eyes like in my wall just staring at me, just like these big demonic eyes staring at me. And then like I saw the fucking exorcist girl just like standing in front of my bed, and her head turned completely around, and it did not look. Now a lot of people will say, "Oh my God, like that's so fake," but no, it was not like I was seeing it actually happen. It was more like I was watching a movie, but the movie there was no TV because it was like 2D, which sounds weird, but it's kind of hard to explain. It was very 2D, and it just looked like I knew it wasn't there, was what I'm trying to say. I knew it was just me seeing stuff, so I figured if I turn the light back on, it'll go away. And so I was reaching for that light for the goddamn life of me, and I could not fucking get that light on. I could not reach for the light. I could not find it. And finally, after like 10 minutes of like just for my life trying to get that light back on, I finally got it on, and I was like laughing my ass off after I got it on. Like, I fucking did it. It felt like I accomplished something. And so then I got up and I was like, okay, I think my dad's asleep, and because I heard my friend come open the door, come walking through. So I walked in the living room and my dad was still there, so I was like, shit, I can't tell my friend that the tabs came in. So then what happened was I went and got some food and sat down and put it on the table because I didn't want to eat for some reason. I had no appetite at all. Like, food was just out of the question for me. And so my focus was I could not focus on anything. And like, my dad knew something was up because I said like something to him, and he was like, what? And I don't even remember what I said, but I said something and he was like, what? And I was like, oh, never mind. And he was like, what the fuck did you just say? Like, I was like speaking a new language or something. But I wasn't speaking a new language in my head. Like, what I said to myself in my head made perfect sense to me. And then I said it out loud and it didn't make sense. And I realized it didn't make sense, and it freaked me out because like my dad, like, he was like just confused. And I was like, never mind, like that came out wrong. And so I went back to sit on the couch to eat my food or whatever, put it on the table. And since my focus was so out of it, I didn't even notice that my dog had got up on the table and took the food off the table and was eating it. And my dad screamed. He was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Bryce? You let the dog eat your food? What the fuck? And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even see him. And he's like, it's right in front of your fucking face. How do you not see it? And I was like, I don't know. I was paying attention to the movie whenever I couldn't even understand what they were saying in the movie at all. I was just like so zoned out. And so I was definitely peaking at this point. This is about 3.5 hours in at this point of taking the original half tab, and about 2 hours in of taking the other half tab. So I was full on peaking at this point. And so what happened, and keep in mind that during the come up I took some massive bong hits, so that probably had something to do with like how zoned out I was. But yeah, so continuing on, I freaked out because my dad was yelling at me. Like, I totally freaked out. Like, I was like, I'm so fucking sorry. I got so upset. Like, I was just totally freaked out. And like, that was when the point where I said, okay, I'm gonna have to go back in my room. There's no way. I'm just gonna have to wait till he goes to bed. So I went back in my room, left my friend in there with my dad, and they were, just in there smoking weed and shit. And I was just in my room tripping balls, like laughing, giggling my ass off, like staring at my walls and like looking at the patterns change and shit, and looking at my bed, my cover. My cover was just having these like stains on it that were just moving around and shit and changing into these geometric patterns that were like smoothly just kind of like flowing along the cover. And whenever I would see something like this, it felt like it was warm, like I could feel the energy come off of it. Like, I felt euphoric. It felt euphoric to look at these patterns. So, I hear my dad's door close, and I get up and I go in the living room, and I tell my friend, and this is about 4 hours in now, and I tell my friend, I had taken acid, and he was like, really, dude? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I figured something was up with you, like, you just acting so weird. And I was like, yeah, dude, like, you want some? And he was like, hell yeah. So I gave him half a tab, and then we were both like just having a grand old time for a few hours, just tripping our balls off, just like. And I also took another half a tab when I gave him half a tab, because I was like figuring, since we're in a better environment now with no, my dad was asleep, that I could handle having another half tab. So we went and sat on the couch, and then like I gave him another half tab because he wasn't really feeling it, and we went and sat on the couch. So he had taken a full half tab, I had taken 1.5. And we were watching this movie, and I remember all I could think about was, this is either the trippiest movie I've ever seen in my life, or I'm tripping balls. And I don't even remember the movie, I just remember it had Dwayne Johnson in it, and it was like so, I just kept seeing like these weird patterns, and like the heads on people were morphing. And I'll never get this one thing out of my mind, where I saw a Papa John commercial, and Papa John was like, better pizza, better ingredients, Papa John. And then his mouth, his whole face just kind of like, whoa, like it stretched. It started stretching, and his eyes boggled, and his like whole head looked like a bobblehead. And I started laughing my ass off. It was so funny. It was so fucking funny. And I was having such a good time that like, once it started to wear off. And another thing I kept seeing was on my arm. My hands everything had like kind of a green tint to it for some reason. But on my arm, I saw like a tattoo like appear on my arm, and it was like moving up my arm, and it was like this geometric like arrow type looking thing that was just black, and it was flowing up my arm and stuff, and I was like, whoa. And then it turned into a snake, and I was like, whoa, dude. I was like, this is so wicked. And I was enjoying it. And for some reason I never had the thought to like listen to music or close my eyes, which is kind of strange. I don't know. It was my first time ever taking any kind of psychedelic. Let me give you a background real quick. Before this, I had never taken any psychedelic. The only thing I did was weed and alcohol and like some like hydrocodone or something, and that's it. So I had pretty much no idea what the hell was gonna happen. I had never experienced anything like this before in my life, and so it was pretty freaky to me. And so when I'd go in the bathroom too, like I kept seeing the tiles, like the cracks in the tiles, like just move into different objects, and everything felt like in the house that I was in, it felt like the outside world didn't exist. And keep in mind, this was at night. And so like I felt like the house was floating in space, and that we were just nothing else outside of the house existed. That this was the only thing in existence at this current point in time. And I was having like some pretty introspective thoughts, where like I was having these life-changing thoughts. I had for one thing that I was thinking about was like good and evil, and how one can't exist without the other, and that nothing's really good if it's not intending to be good, and nothing's really evil if it's not intending to be evil. It just is. It does what it does, and we perceive it as good or evil, and blah blah blah. I had like some really weird thoughts. But about 7 hours into the trip, I was coming down off of the like first 2 half tabs that I took. Like I started like coming down, the visuals were kind of going away, and I wasn't feeling any euphoria anymore. And so I took another whole tab. Yeah, actually no, I took another tab and a half. Actually, that's right. Cause like I had a tab and a half left, and that's all I had left. Because my friend at this point had taken 2 tabs, and I don't know what my friend was seeing, because we didn't share anything with each other. We were just having our own experiences and not talking about it. And so he had taken 2, and at this point I was at 3. I was coming down off of 1.5, and I took another 1.5. And so I was like, whew, at this point, shit just, I don't even remember, to be quite honest with you. I just remember I was sitting in my couch, and I like sunk into the couch. Like, I felt like my body was just going into my couch, and like I was like falling into like a void. And I remember the audio hallucinations. Like, I would say something, and then it would repeat itself back to me like 30 seconds later, and like time would repeat back what I mean. Like, say I would smoke a bong or something like that. I would take a hit off a bong and then like exhale, and then all of a sudden time would skip back, and I am inhaling again, and then I exhale, and I'm like, wait a second, I just did that, and I was like, what's going on? And I would forget that I exhaled and stuff, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? The mind fuck was real. And I had this weird thing in my throat and nose, like in my sinuses. It felt like I almost like had a little bit of a flu or something. It wasn't bad. I actually quite enjoyed it. It was weird. It was I had this weird feeling in my throat and nose. I can't quite describe it, but it was interesting to say the least. Everything smelled like different. Everything kind of like tasted a little different, but not really though. Things really, for the most part, tasted the same. It's just the way that I ate them was different, and the way they went down my throat was different. It felt like I had no throat. Like, when I'd swallow, I didn't feel it touch my throat. It just kind of went down. And the same with weed. Like, whenever I'd inhale, it was like I didn't need to cough or anything. I could take massive bong hits and just nothing. Felt like I didn't even do anything. I was like, what the fuck happened? And weed had no effect on me except for enhancing the trip. Like, I felt no high from it. It was so weird. And so the whole trip lasted from 8 o'clock p.m. until about 10 a.m. in the morning, because I had taken so much throughout the night, and I finally fell asleep at noon. My friend fell asleep at about 8 a.m. just because he took a benzo, because he was starting to freak out a little bit. And so he started to freak out at like 4 a.m. and like he took a benzo and then was asleep by 8. And so that was my first time tripping on acid, and like there's more to the story that I can't remember, but that was pretty much the experience that I do remember. Looking in the mirror was something I would never want to do again. I looked into my eyes, and like I looked into my soul. I felt like I was looking at another person in the mirror, like someone else was inside of the mirror looking back at me, and this person had evil intentions, and it scared the shit out of me. I didn't want to do that ever again, but yeah, that was probably the most intense trip that I ever had. But yeah, that was it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want more videos like this, then leave me a comment and a like, and I'll think about that. I mean, like, acid's the only psychedelic I've ever done, but if you want to hear about my first bad trip, then I guess I could do something like that. But thanks so much for watching, and goodbye. Don't do this. Don't do anything that I do in my videos. It's not something that, probably won't ever take that kind of I won't space out doses like that anymore. If I do a dose, it'll be like that dose, and then I'll experience that dose and not redose. You should never redose acid. It's a bad idea. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.